Secretary, I want to move on to another issue that's also very important in regards to this. In May, the department announced that it had expanded financial assistance to veterans experiencing homelessness or those who might be at risk of becoming homeless. $300 million has been directed to that cause through the CARES Act. What more is the VA doing to address some of the other challenges facing veterans, like unemployment? I mean, the unemployment rate, just to put this figure out there, it did show a bump for a second month in a row in June, but it's still at 8.6%.
Right. And let's look at where we were under the Trump economy. We had the lowest veterans unemployment rate in the history of the United States. It was sitting about 2.3%. After the epidemic hit, it went up to 12 and it went back down to 8.6, as you mentioned. But that means that American workers, American business are receptive to bringing veterans into the economy. And that's a good thing, because you won't find anyone, most of our veterans, by the time they're 23 or 24, have made more life-altering decisions than the average American makes in a lifetime. On the homeless front, we're using the same formula that we want to use for veteran suicide, and that is get resources out to charities and churches to help us find those veterans we don't see. We're even bringing veterans in off the streets in places like Los Angeles to at least get them behind our fence, to get them out of Skid Row so they're not exposed to all of the problems that we see in a place like central Los Angeles. And that's how we're reaching out. The good thing is, even though the number that we have, 40,000 veterans who are on the streets and homeless, is very high, a few years ago it was in the hundreds of thousands. And there are entire cities, large cities in this country, where we've been able to eliminate veterans' homelessness because of that cooperation with non-government organizations, with charities and churches. So we're using that formula. We're getting those resources out to those who are out on the front lines.
Oh, right. And then finally, Secretary, during a visit to Kansas City VA Medical Center last week, you said the department is undergoing cultural change, that you're bringing accountability to all levels of the VA. You spoke with a couple weeks. This all happened after a former black employee said that she had experienced racism at this facility while working there. What steps are you specifically taking to accomplish this goal of cultural change?
Well, you mentioned accountability, and under this president, for the first time in the post-World War II world, we're actually removing people who aren't performing. We've removed over 8,000 employees from top to bottom who are not living up to their oaths. And I think that is part of the reason why our trust and approval scores are at an all-time high. They're at 90%, not only with our numbers, but also with the veterans of foreign wars. In the last administration, they were lucky to hit the 50s. So we've seen that change. And part of it is the cultural change that you pointed out. People are accountable for their actions. We don't tolerate harassment on the job. We don't tolerate what has been charged in Kansas City. That's why we put new leadership in. That's why we have new programs in. And we approach this in all humility, that not everything is perfect, but we're moving. The president has sent the message: if you work for VA, you will be held accountable if you don't live up to your oath. And I think that's a sea change, and it's a remarkable thing to see, particularly looking at VA today and then looking where it was just a few years ago before President Trump came to the White House.
All right, VA Secretary Robert Wilkie speaking with One America News today about some of the challenges the administration is taking on in regards to veterans and the coronavirus pandemic. Thank you so much for your time. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.